In a mansion decorated like a fairy tale, the wedding of Alex Black and Samantha White was underway. The aisle was lined with clusters of flowers, and the seats were elegantly arranged. The soft music played as the guests raised their glasses to celebrate the union of the couple. Alex, dressed in a well-tailored navy blue suit, stood beside the priest, smiling as he awaited his bride. Samantha, wearing a pure white wedding dress and holding a bouquet of lilies symbolizing purity, slowly walked down the aisle. Everyone was moved by the sight of this happy moment. However, the sweet ceremony was abruptly interrupted by a scream. As Samantha reached Alex, his mother, Helen Black, suddenly rushed from the crowd, holding a gleaming dagger in her hand, and plunged it directly into the bride's chest. In the midst of the shrill scream, Samantha collapsed to the floor, her white dress stained red with blood. The panicked guests scattered in all directions, and the venue was immediately thrown into chaos. All eyes were now on Helen, who stood trembling in the bloodied scene, her hand still shaking, yet her expression was cold and resolute. Alex stood frozen, unable to believe that his own mother was responsible for this act. Helen's lips moved slightly, as if she wanted to explain something, but the noise around her drowned out her words. What should have been a blissful wedding had turned into an irreversible tragedy. And the cause of this, however, was far more complicated than just the blood and the knife before them. If you want to know the truth behind this, and why a mother would attempt to kill her son's bride, be sure to subscribe to our channel and continue watching this heartbreaking yet thought-provoking story. Alex Black was born in the tranquil Midwestern town of Greenwood, USA. From an early age, Alex displayed extraordinary intelligence and a keen interest in technology. During elementary school, he was already proficient in writing simple computer programs and even designed small games for his classmates. By the time he reached middle school, Alex had won numerous awards in national youth technology competitions, becoming widely recognized in town as a genius boy. Despite his remarkable talents, Alex's childhood was far from happy. His mother, Helen Black, had exerted strict control over his life since the day he was born. A single mother, Helen dedicated herself entirely to providing Alex with the best education and upbringing. She meticulously planned every moment of Alex's day, from morning math lessons to evening programming sessions, leaving him almost no time for himself. Social activities were strictly restricted, as Helen believed friends would distract Alex and jeopardize his academic and professional future. In such an environment, Alex achieved extraordinary academic success, but also endured profound feelings of suppression and loneliness. His life was packed with scheduled tasks, leaving little room for personal freedom. Whenever Alex expressed his desire for independence, Helen would sternly dismiss his requests, always justifying her actions as being for your future. Deep down, Alex yearned to break free from his mother's control and pursue his own dreams and happiness, yet he struggled to escape her powerful influence. After graduating high school, Alex earned a full scholarship to a prestigious university to study computer science. However, even at college, he could not fully claim autonomy over his life. Helen's frequent calls and visits kept a close watch over his studies and personal affairs, making it difficult for Alex to forge his own path. Nevertheless, through sheer determination, Alex eventually became a top software developer at a renowned tech company after graduation. Yet, behind his success lay a complex and tense relationship with his mother. This tale of brilliance intertwined with repression reveals Alex's unquenched longing deep within, a yearning for true freedom and happiness that he could call his own. Alex Black met Samantha White at a technology conference. She was dressed in a simple yet professional outfit, her gaze confident and commanding attention with her unique aura. Samantha was a seasoned journalist specializing in technology, focusing on topics like cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and digital privacy. She was not only intelligent and independent, but also carried an air of mystery, as if there were untold stories hidden behind her composed demeanor. Her sharp intellect and engaging conversations captivated Alex more and more as they interacted. Initially, Alex didn't pay much attention to Samantha, but over time, as they encountered each other at multiple events and meetings, they started to connect more deeply. Her straightforwardness and brilliance impressed him, and her non-traditional, bold personality intrigued him immensely. Alex found himself drawn to Samantha's independence and confidence, and soon their relationship blossomed into something more romantic. However, Samantha's past was shrouded in mystery. While she appeared confident and capable in her professional life, she deftly avoided personal questions, skillfully steering conversations away from her private life. As their relationship grew, Alex began to notice hints that Samantha might have a complicated history. She had previously written some reflective pieces online about her personal experiences, touching on familial conflicts and a complex relationship with her father. Her father was a prominent executive at one time, but fell into disgrace following a major financial scandal. Yet Samantha had never openly discussed her father, only hinting at a turbulent and emotionally distant childhood. This did not escape the watchful eye of Helen Black, Alex's mother. Known for her intense involvement in her son's life, Helen became deeply uneasy and suspicious upon learning about Alex and Samantha's relationship. She began her own investigation to uncover the mysteries surrounding Samantha. Helen hired a private investigator to delve into Samantha's family background, especially her relationship with her father. The investigator soon discovered that Samantha's father was not only disgraced by a financial fraud case, but also rumored to have been involved in illegal dealings with various business partners. Rather than alleviating Helen's concerns, this information only strengthened her conviction that Samantha was untrustworthy and that her past might pose a severe risk to Alex's future. Helen's animosity towards Samantha grew, and she began interfering behind the scenes to distance her son from her. Helen's protective instincts and controlling nature reached their peak as she openly expressed her hostility towards Samantha, even telling Alex that Samantha was nothing more than a cleverly disguised opportunist who would ruin his life. Despite his mother's growing hostility, Alex chose to trust Samantha. He believed in her abilities and independent spirit and saw qualities in her that couldn't be ignored. However, the clash between Helen's controlling love and Alex's personal values became an invisible fissure in their relationship. Helen's increasingly intrusive investigations fueled tension, while Alex found himself trapped between his love for Samantha and the overwhelming pressure from his mother. He realized that, although Helen's behavior stemmed from love, it was bringing unbearable strain to his life and threatening his future with Samantha. One night, after Alex returned home from work, Helen presented the investigation report and demanded that he break up with Samantha immediately. She said sternly, "Her family past is so filthy. Are you really going to let such a stain enter our family?" Alex looked at the file in his mother's hand, a mix of anger and helplessness rising within him. He tried to explain that Samantha's father's past had no bearing on her character, and he described how supportive Samantha had been, facing life's challenges alongside him. But Helen refused to listen, her voice growing more piercing. "A person's family defines their essence. She's only close to you for money and status. She doesn't deserve you." The argument escalated uncontrollably, and Alex slammed his hand on the table, shouting, "This is not your life. You can't keep interfering with my choices." Helen's face turned red with rage, and she shouted back, "I'm trying to protect you. Without me, where would you be today?" The conflict between them slowly shifted from a battle of voices to a rift in their emotions. For the first time, Alex felt that his mother's so-called love had crossed a line and turned into a form of bondage. Yet he also knew that his mother's influence on him had been deeply ingrained, and escaping it would not be easy. It was in this moment of argument that the audience could clearly see how Helen's motherly love had quietly transformed into a deep control, and this control was approaching a dangerous threshold. A week before the wedding, Helen Black arranged to meet Samantha. The meeting took place in a quiet cafe, where sunlight filtered through the curtains onto the table between them. Despite the serene setting, the atmosphere was tense. Helen sat down with a smile, but there was a hint of coldness in her eyes. She got straight to the point, attempting to persuade Samantha to call off the marriage under the guise of what's best for Alex. Her tone was a mix of pleading and veiled threats. "You must understand, Alex needs someone who can help him succeed, not someone who will weigh him down." Samantha listened calmly and firmly rejected Helen's suggestion. "I love Alex and he loves me. We support each other, and that's what marriage is about," she replied, her determination leaving no room for compromise. Helen's smile gradually faded, replaced by a chilling resolve. She slowly stood up and left Samantha with a cryptic parting remark. "I hope you won't regret your decision." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Samantha sitting alone, her brow slightly furrowed. On the day of the wedding, the church was filled with a warm atmosphere, with soft sunlight streaming through the stained glass windows, casting a gentle glow on every guest's face. Alex, dressed in a well-tailored suit, stood at the altar, his eyes sparkling with anticipation. His partner, Samantha, walked slowly down the long aisle in a pure white wedding dress, each step carrying the weight of happiness. However, behind this romantic scene, an undercurrent of unease lurked. The guests gradually began to notice that Helen, sitting in the first row, wore a sullen expression, her hands tightly gripping her knees, and her face devoid of any smile. She muttered several times to the person next to her, even standing up as if to interrupt the ceremony, only to sit back down again. None of this escaped Alex's notice, but he told himself that it was just his mother struggling with the idea of him leaving her. The wedding ceremony proceeded smoothly. When the priest announced that the groom and bride could exchange vows, Samantha gazed at Alex with deep affection and said in a soft but resolute tone, "In wealth or poverty, in health or sickness, I will always love and support you." Alex was nearly moved to tears. He held Samantha's hand tightly, about to respond, when suddenly a scream pierced the silence. Everyone turned to see Helen suddenly stand up from her seat, holding a gleaming knife in her hand. Her eyes were filled with anger and determination. With her cry, "I won't let her ruin your life," she rushed toward Samantha. Things happened so quickly that no one had time to react, and the blade sliced through Samantha's pristine wedding dress, and the bright red blood instantly soaked the fabric. Samantha collapsed to the ground, her hands clutching her chest, her face filled with pain and disbelief. The guests screamed and scattered, some trying to step forward to stop her, but were forced back by Helen waving the knife. Alex was paralyzed in shock, unable to believe that it was his own mother who had done this. He instinctively rushed to Samantha's side, pressing his hand to her wound, trying to stop the bleeding, while trembling, he yelled at his mother, "What are you doing?" Helen's gaze showed no remorse. She stood there, still as a statue, cold and unfeeling. She calmly said, "You're still young. You don't understand how to choose the right person. I did all of this for your own good." Alex's pain and anger collided inside him as he looked at his love lying in a pool of blood, then at his indifferent mother. And he realized a deep fissure was forming in his heart, one that would never heal. He understood that his mother had long been consumed by her obsession, and that there was no turning back. Outside the church, the sound of sirens was heard, and the guests' screams echoed. Alex knelt beside Samantha, tears blurring his vision. He couldn't change his mother's decision, and he couldn't undo the tragedy that had unfolded. He could only helplessly watch as the two most important people in his life, one collapsed in a pool of blood, and the other was taken away by the police. The day of the trial, the courtroom was packed, with not only the family and friends involved in the case, but also many spectators drawn by the media. Alex sat in a corner of the courtroom, his gaze blank, as if nothing concerned him, yet his hands gripped the edge of his chair tightly, revealing the internal struggle he was facing. Helen was brought to the defendant's seat dressed in neat clothing, her face showing no sign of remorse. When the judge asked if she admitted to the crime, she calmly replied, "I admit it, but I do not regret it. I did this to protect my son." Her words caused an uproar in the gallery, and a brief flash of pain crossed Alex's face. He could neither understand nor accept how his mother could justify this tragedy as an act of motherly sacrifice. The prosecution seized on this, attempting to expose the twisted psychology behind Helen's actions. They presented reports from mental health experts stating that Helen suffered from a severe controlling personality disorder. This disorder made it impossible for her to tolerate her closest loved ones living independently and unable to accept any external threat to her control over her son. The defense team tried to argue for Helen, emphasizing that while her actions were extreme, they stemmed from her deep love for her son. Psychological experts also testified, explaining how years of isolation and paranoia gradually pushed her into losing control. These arguments failed to garner sympathy from the jury and instead left many feeling chilled. After several days of deliberation, the judge finally handed down the verdict. Helen was sentenced to 15 years in prison for attempted murder and assault with intent, with mandatory psychiatric treatment. When the verdict was announced, the courtroom fell silent. Yet Helen's expression remained unchanged, as if she had expected this outcome all along. After the trial, the media extensively reported on the case. Some sympathized with Helen, believing she had lost herself due to her motherly love. Others condemned her actions, stating that she had not only ruined her son's life, but also brought endless harm to the innocent bride and her family. Alex remained silent in the face of it all. His heart had already been torn apart by the conflict and pain, and he was powerless to comment on his mother's actions, bearing the consequences of it all. After the trial, Alex Black completely disappeared from the public eye. He resigned from his high-profile job, sold the house he had once planned to share with Samantha, and moved to a quiet small town to live a secluded life. Here he tried to calm his inner turmoil with a simple daily routine. However, fate did not allow him to remain in complete silence. Through conversations with a therapist, Alex gradually realized that he could use the pain from his own experiences to help others. He established a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing psychological support and legal assistance to victims of extreme controlling behavior and domestic violence. He shared his story with more people, warning those whose love had been distorted and encouraging victims to bravely fight for their freedom. Through these efforts, Alex not only found a way to heal himself, but also brought a glimmer of hope to society. He deeply reflected on the boundaries of maternal love, realizing that freedom is an essential part of life. When love exceeds its boundaries, it can become a cage, causing deep harm.